welcome to Southwest. I am Sumit Jha. Today we have Dr. Rakesh Mishra. He is the director at Tata Institute of Genetics and Society. Formerly, he was the director at Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology at Hyderabad. In the interview with Dr. Mishra, we are going to talk about wastewater surveillance, how it is going to help us in finding new diseases, and scientific progress lies ahead with wastewater surveillance technology. Welcome, Dr. Rakesh Mishra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
First question I really want to ask is what is wastewater surveillance and also how does it work?
So, the wastewater surveillance is a very convenient way of knowing what is happening in the city in terms of infection and usage of medicine, drugs, many things actually you can, or even all living creatures, because everything comes out eventually through a sewage system to our wastewater. So people have been doing wastewater surveillance, but very small scale for some time. But during pandemic, it picked the pace and got the imagination of the many agencies that how useful it can be. In fact, as earlier even the first wave when it came, we began to do the wastewater surveillance in Hyderabad, taking the STP samples. So there we know how many viral particles a person who is infected sheds every day. And we know that how many people live in the catchment area of an STP, which is sewage treatment plant. And we can estimate the reasonably accurate number of RNA fragments of the virus in the sewage system or the STP tank. So therefore, we can actually tell on that day how many people have been shedding virus and volume of the water we know in the STP. So with this, we can very easily calculate how many people are infected in the city that day. This is something by just doing some sample in one STP, which costs just few thousand rupees, and you are talking about several lakhs of people who are living around in that. We have been doing for past about 1 year, a little over 1 year, very extensive surveillance program in Bangalore. Here we have very good cooperation from the BBMP, who is the civic body, and allows us to sample from the wastewater tanks, and even they share patient samples to us for the analysis. And on a weekly basis, we are monitoring all 28 STPs in Bangalore, the viral load. And we tell them where it is going up, where it is going down. So in that ward, they can go and take some steps. Sometime it could be some festival or something. Sometime it could be some other activity. So they can control and be prepared. And I can also say that we get to know up to 1 week in advance if peak is going to come in that region or not.
In early March 2021, you were director at CCMB Hyderabad, and I was covering COVID-19 in Hyderabad at that time. In a press meeting, I met you, and you had put details of COVID-19 seropositivity in Hyderabad at that time, and there only you spoke for the first time about sewage water surveillance. And recently in Kolkata, sewage water, polio virus has also been found. So, as you are doing work in Bangalore for around a year on wastewater, what kind of virus you have found?
So we are now in very, as I said, very close collaboration with BBMP, and we discussed with the chief secretary, and he mentioned that we should look for more parasites, more infectious diseases. So we are now testing many pathogens, including dengue. So we are able to detect dengue, various serotypes of dengue, and tuberculosis. Even we tried monkeypox, but monkeypox is not there. We are doing several things. So one is to make these tests very robust and make proper SOPs so that anybody can use them, and design models for big city, small city, or even open drainage, because much of the country doesn't have sewage system with STPs and all that are open drainage. So in Hyderabad, we are doing in collaboration with CCMB some 20 odd open drainage places monitoring, and we have standardized at what time to collect sample, how many times you have to collect, and how to calculate that data concentration and all. So that we are doing. So idea is to develop sewage surveillance, or you can call environmental surveillance using a wastewater system to estimate the exact number of parasite in the city, which means exact number of people infected in the city by different parasite. And the technology is so powerful that we are constantly monitoring even the variants of the COVID in Bangalore and in Hyderabad, and we know exactly which variant is in what proportion. We will not be able to tell which individual is infected, but we'll know in the whole locality if 100 people are infected, 50 are carrying this variant, 20 are carrying that variant, and so on. So that means overall you have the idea of identity here is not important. But even if people are not symptomatic, they are not reporting in hospital, but we know the parasite is there, and it may be problem. So therefore, civic society or civic body can be prepared. And I must add that this is very generously funded by Rockefeller Foundation. 1 year ago, they started funding a surveillance program. They gave a project of $9.5 million for 3 years. 1 year is over now. Second phase, second year has just begun, in which we are doing 4 city clusters: Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, and Delhi.
My next question is regarding this only. How do you see municipality like GHMC and BBMP will help wastewater surveillance, and how civil society participation can take it further?
It's a very important question. No matter what science you do, unless there is acceptance by system, by regulatory bodies, and by people, it is no value. So that is our major one of the major focus, public outreach and train people, and that's why I'm talking to you. That how useful this information is, that with the negligible amount of investment, you can tell how many people in the city are infected. This is just simply powerful technology, and the sophisticated scientific method that is involved in this. And coming to so there are various kinds of experience we had. I want to put on record the BBMP has been very forthcoming, very bold in asking us how many cases are there. They are not afraid that when we say that what you see cases are 5 times more than that. So they understand that. In fact, we are allowed to put it on the website. We have a web portal where we put the cases every week, different wards, different STPs. So that is very important. That has helped the city. They know that where the cases are increasing, decreasing, and go and find out the reason and take control of those things. Contrary to that, GHMC, we had difficulties. In the beginning, we had access to STPs and we calculated and told, which I don't know why they got worried that there are more number of cases. So you cannot deny the truth. You should make sure that you are taking care of that, which they were doing very well. In fact, outflow of all STPs we detected, there were no virus, so treatment was very good, and hospitals there were no problems. So, in fact, it was good that even a significantly larger number of people were actually infected than what was on the record, and still the city was able to take care of all of them. So we are very proud of Hyderabad for doing that. But they should be more open to science and the information and technology, so that they can get the best use and take care of their people better.
I really want to come to COVID-19 now. Since last 2 years, people have lost their lives around the world. Now we are at the stage that people are vaccinated with 3 doses of vaccine. Virus is also mutating again and again. So how do we see variants changing its course after people getting vaccinated?
See, whether you vaccinate or not, virus will change. That is the nature of the virus. And new variants will come that will be certainly more infectious or equally infectious. Then that is how they will replace the, because virus cannot stay without changing. That is the fundamental nature of the virus. So that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that virus change means a panic for us. We are now having, as you mentioned, 3 doses, most of the people, over a billion people, 2 billion doses have been given. So large number of population is now vaccinated, and some more will get vaccinated. And I think with 2 doses and a booster, we are pretty good. We don't need any further boosters and so on. So that, because in spite of all this vaccination and all those, we keep getting infected also, because these vaccines protect against disease or symptoms and not against the infection. Although there is no hurry to declare that, we can do sooner, because anyway life is now normal, everything is okay. But I still think that wearing the mask when you are in crowded space or closed space is good, because that helps you preventing the spread of the virus further, so that virus doesn't get chance to make more variants and infect more people. It's always a continuous seesaw that we have to face with the virus, and we have to live with it. The only reason we should slow down the virus evolution is that the population doesn't get sudden shock of new variant, and virus can mutate only when it is it's infecting any one of us. So if you avoid that, we have scored against the virus.
But cases like monkeypox or Ebola are also evolving. Do you see that any other virus will evolve as COVID had evolved in our society?
So all the infections you mentioned, luckily their spread is very slow. So that's why I don't think monkeypox will cause any problem to us, because of our culture, the way it spreads, and so on. And similarly, Ebola is not as infectious as this, and because of the various other reasons, we may not have to worry so much about it. But there is no guarantee anyway. But that's not so much of an issue. But new virus, antimicrobial resistance, and particularly viruses like SARS-CoV-2, there is a distinct possibility, because these are the viruses that are they live in other animals, and they are normal, like we live in with certain kind of bacteria and viruses, and we are fine. But if we go and expose ourselves to another population who are naive to those infections, they may get sick and die even. Same thing happens too when we are exposed to a new virus which is living in a bat or in some other animal, typically mammal, closer to, which is evolutionally closer to humans. We are also mammals. The second thing, although you mentioned that we are prepared for pandemic, I'm not very sure that we are prepared for the pandemic. Now we have come out of this with this pandemic with huge losses. We have made remarkable things. I'm not denying any of them. The diagnostics, the test that was costing 3,000, 4,000 now cost less than 100 rupees. That's I mean, kudos to the science and technology and the industry partners who have worked and make this in cheaper. We vaccinated 2 billion people. I mean, these are something extraordinary. That's amazing. But public health system in the cities or in the country is not robust enough that we can be confident that we can handle a new pandemic without much damage. So that we have to keep working, and I'm sure that we'll not forget our losses and make strategies and policies that we minimize them in future. Vaccine has really gone through the revolution, the vaccine science. It was never ever that within a year you have vaccine, and that too so good vaccine that it saved us from the disasters which could have been worse in pandemic. So vaccine technology is improved, mRNA vaccine technology is improved. India has made its own mRNA vaccine. In fact, that is one of the best and most sophisticated mRNA vaccine that Geneva Pharmaceuticals has made, which is now been approved, and I hope it will be rolled out in coming days.
Yes, sir, I really want to ask you many questions regarding these things, but I want to stop myself at one last question. How do you see technology evolving with the science? Because the innovation of mRNA vaccines or innovation of nasal vaccines, it has changed the course of pandemic. So how do you see that how technology is evolving with the science and helping out the society?
That is very important question. We often mix science and technology, and but you made very good distinction. Science goes a little bit unpredictable, because this is a new thing. We are walking in the unknown, and we find new things. That's a discovery and progress of the science. But what science we learn that doesn't get immediately converted into technology, although we can sometimes see the utility of this. That's where the innovation comes, that's where industry comes, because the research labs who do science, they are not apt, or they are not equipped or fit, and not really trained to convert the science into technology. So now in past several years, even before pandemic, that is very good thing has happened in our country, that innovation or incubation of the young companies, startups and small companies has really taken very good pace. And there are now a lot of incubation centers where startups are supported, because the startup company has only idea. They don't have much money. They don't have much infrastructure. In fact, zero infrastructure. But they have idea, and they have a desire to succeed, which is the most essential ingredients, and rest is the responsibility of the system to provide the resources and financial support so that they can go further.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for talking to South First. It was quite insightful. Hope the wastewater surveillance will become as important as other surveillance too. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to South First.
Most welcome. It's a pleasure talking to you.